Hi, I'm Maria. On Christmas, my parents gave me a gift. In front of everyone, I unwrapped a stainless steel dog bowl. It had my name engraved on the side, shining in silver. They all laughed, the kind of laughter that leaves you cold. I smiled too, but that was the very last time I did. Because 3 days later, they got an eviction notice in the mail. What happened in between? Well, it wasn't just the bowl. I grew up in South Texas with porch swings and prayer. Sunday dinners meant pot roast, hymns, and mismatched china plates. Mama loved centerpieces. Daddy loved stories that lasted evenings. I learned to pass the biscuits, not the spotlight, early. Being useful was praised. Being seen was optional, discouraged. By high school, I could roast a chicken practically blindfolded. No one asked about the sketches taped inside my notebooks. I kept my voice small and my hands very busy. Walter was firstborn, careful. Marjorie floated like a pink ribbon. Elroy watched before speaking, counting the pieces twice first. I was the helper, driver, finder of everyone's lost screws. If a bulb flickered, they called me. I knew the latter. Holidays found me ironing napkins flat and setting extra chairs. They waved thanks while already laughing at another brighter story. The photos were lovely. Somehow my shoulder kept missing frames. When money tightened, I learned bills like others learn hymns. Mortgage, insurance, taxes, envelopes lined up like little soldiers. Mama fretted over bows. Daddy measured shelves for trophies. I did the math, turned coupons into soups and stews. No one named it sacrifice because I did it smiling. They mistook quiet competence for bottomless capacity and free labor. Later, the house began to cough through the dusty vents. Heat failed in January, the month our pipes complained loudest. The electrician quoted numbers that made Mama sit down slowly. Daddy stared at invoices like they owed him kindness today. I used lunch breaks to bargain and find payment plans. When the bank threatened adjustment, I co-signed, telling myself, love. Temporary, they promised. The words slipped around the room easily. I signed anyway, ink warming beneath the lamp like doubt. I moved to Austin for work, not rebellion or fashion. South Side apartment, small windows, big silence, and clean counters. Evenings I taught art because color steadies certain griefs. My days smelled like coffee, gesso, and thrift store frames. I visited for birthdays, storm cleanups, and the heavy lifts. If an uncle needed rides from the clinic, I drove. If a cousin forgot cupcakes, I frosted them near midnight. When the dog Max got sick, I slept on tile. Mama admired perfection over repair. It took me years. Christmas wreaths triple-sized, bows crisp as church collars. She wrote names on chalkboards with a practiced flourish and smile. Sometimes mine appeared, sometimes family covered the space neatly. I learned to bring what was needed and ask nothing. If they missed my birthday, I baked the cake myself. Dependable is cousin to invisible. They share the same face. I kept spare keys for everyone, casseroles waiting in freezers. I hunted first editions at markets for Mama's cookbooks. When I found one, I hid it on my shelf. Saving is sweeter when you picture the gasp in gratitude. I imagined her fingers on the cracked spine, proud and gentle. A Thanksgiving taught me seating can feel like weather. I carried gravy while they arranged themselves like ornaments. Max got a cushion before I found any place. Kindness lives inside questions, and none of mine were asked. Maria's independent, they said, blessing and dismissal at once. Independence is lovely until you need a witness for joy. By the time bank letters dulled to monthly background weather, I kept spreadsheets, stamped receipts, and a tired pen drawer. Each payment felt like a lifeline disguised as duty. Each thank you text arrived late or did not arrive. I waited for a small moment I could keep safely. Maybe Mama would ask about my class, bring her teacup. Maybe Daddy would walk into my little gallery night. Maybe a card would arrive with only my name shining. Absence grows louder than insult when it becomes a pattern. I learned to read it like the daily weather report. 3 nights before Christmas, her text arrived without greeting. Dinner at 6, don't be late this time. I read it twice in the blue light silence. Not a question, not a kindness, only a stamp. I set the phone face down and watched the ceiling. The heater clicked, the pipes knocked, the building answered. I told myself I would go and bring soda. Tradition is a hope that refuses to retire. Next morning, I pulled the cookbook gently from my shelf. First edition, 1972, butter stains that read like footnotes. I wrapped it in brown paper and ironed a ribbon, a card in my hand. For Mama, with love. I pictured her Christmas gasp and Daddy's proud nodding. I placed the gift by the door with my coat. Generosity is rehearsal for the life you want. I kept rehearsing, even when the stage stayed dark. What hurt most wasn't any single small forgetting. It was the order of things, choreographed omission, practiced. It placed me near the doorway, hand on the light. It placed my name after the dog on chalkboards. It slid my stories under coasters to protect the table. It taught me to swallow before anyone asked if I'd eaten. It taught me to stand because a chair might not wait. Still, I believe that homes can grow after pruning. That tenderness could learn a different route, with practice. So I kept spare batteries and the jumper cables coiled. I kept recipes that stretched one chicken into 4 meals. Notes on fridges remained my habit for comfort. Back soon, soup on the stove, call me if needed. I kept the faith that need would someday mean me, too. The drive to San Antonio took 3 quiet hours straight. Holiday lights flickered across porches. Car trunks glowed with ribbons. I pulled into my parents' driveway, the one lined with inflatables. Santa leaned sideways in the yard, deflating like a sigh. The wreath swallowed half the doorbell, glitter scratching my fingers. No one opened the door. I walked myself into warmth. Inside, laughter surged, wine glasses clinked, and cinnamon fogged the air. Mama glanced over her shoulder. "There you are," she said. She turned back before I even set my bag down. No hug, no "how was the drive," just a glance. Meanwhile, Max, the golden retriever, was scooped into Marjorie's arms. "There's my handsome boy," she crooned, kissing his snout. He got a biscuit, I got the back of her hair. Even the Christmas card framed in the hallway missed my face. Walter, Marjorie, Max, all glitter names, no Maria in marker. A chalkboard read, "Welcome home, family." The same handwriting as always. Family, defined in letters that erased me with precision. Dinner began like theater, Daddy retelling Big Ben's stories again. Walter bragged about his new golf set. Applause followed. Marjorie flashed her internship badge, champagne bubbling with compliments. Even Max had a cushion by the fire, his tail thumping. I sat with water, silverware, silence stitched into my lap. No one asked about my teaching, my art, or my days. I chewed slowly, pretending my silence was chosen, not forced. Then came the gifts, a pageant of wrapping paper and squeals. Walter unwrapped golf clubs from Daddy, polished and expensive. Marjorie beamed with a designer bag. Mama glowed like sunrise. Even Max tore into a toy shaped like champagne. When my turn arrived, Mama handed me a small box. Light as paperback, ribbon curling, hope fragile in my chest. Maybe a gift card to the bookstore near my place. Maybe a thoughtful trinket, something that whispered, "We notice you." I unwrapped the paper, heart steady, eyes ready for kindness. Instead, stainless steel flashed back, cold and cruel in firelight. A dog bowl engraved with Maria in neat block letters. The room paused, then laughter cracked wide like glass shattering. "Oh my God, you actually did it!" Marjorie clutched her side. Daddy smirked. "Well, at least Max has company now." Wine splashed, chuckles echoed. Someone coughed into their napkin. I stared at the bowl until my eyes blurred, refusing to blink. Marjorie wiped tears of laughter. "We figured Max needed a twin dish." Triumphant, she looked at me like I'd completed her punchline. I closed the box gently, forced a smile sharp as glass. "Thank you," I said, voice even, steady, not cracking. I refilled my own glass in the kitchen, back turned. No one followed. No one asked why I lingered alone. Outside the window, wind chimes sang in the dark backyard. Once I had played tag barefoot under those same lights. Now the glow mocked me through glass as if saying, "Outsider." The week before, Mama's group text had already carved my role. "Marjorie, turkey, Walter, wine. I'll do dessert and decor. Maria, just bring chips and soda. Nothing fancy." Seconds later, Marjorie chimed in, "Yeah, you're low maintenance. It fits." Like puzzle filler after the picture was already complete. I bought store-brand soda, last-minute chips, and said nothing. Tonight, the bag sat unopened on a coffee table side. A flimsy paper napkin and plastic cup marked my seat. "Thought you'd want to sit near Max," Carmela explained flatly. The dog wagged his tail beside the cushion by the fire. Walter chuckled. "He misses you when you're gone." The only open stool wobbled beneath me when I sat. Around me, the chandelier glowed over gold-rimmed plates and folded napkins. The family feasted. I balanced soda on the shaky stool. When dessert arrived, Mama's coconut cream pie, Max licked the first fork, Laughter roared. The dog's joy was center stage again. No one asked if I wanted a slice. I stared at flames in the fireplace, the orange blur forgiving. Staying still enough, I thought, maybe they'd forget I existed. A mercy, after all, is not being mocked to your face. But mercy was scarce. Okay, Marjorie clapped like a kindergarten teacher. I've got a little surprise. She connected her phone to the TV. Holiday memories lit the screen. Old clips dancing with nostalgia. Snowball fights, unwrapping gifts, pajamas by the tree. There's Elroy on his bike. Here's Dad cheating at Monopoly. Laughter filled the room, soft music swelling under the film. I watched clip after clip, waiting for a glimpse of myself. 15 minutes passed. No face, no voice, not even my shadow. Even Max had a montage. Santa hats, cookie thefts, cozy naps. When it ended, everyone applauded. No one noticed my absence. Not one turned to say, "Wasn't Maria there that year?" Later in the foyer, I found the holiday cards stacked. Each glossy collage signed, Love, Walter, Carmela, Marjorie, Elroy, Max. Dozens ready for mailing. Not one carried my name. I put them back carefully, like flowers laid on a grave. This wasn't forgetting. Forgetting slips by accident. This was designed, deliberate erasure printed in glitter ink. From the pantry, I heard laughter not meant for my ears. At least the dog got a bowl, Marjorie sneered. Walter chuckled. She never did know how to take a joke. They didn't bother whispering. Dismissal requires no secrecy. I froze, motionless, until water ran and voices drifted away. Invisible, not absent, still breathing under the roof, they erased me in. In the kitchen later, my eyes caught a crumpled paper. Half buried under recipes, it read, Bowl engraving confirmed. Billing, Carmela. Payment processed. Shipment guaranteed. Not a prank, not spontaneous laughter, planned, paid, and sealed. My mother's name stamped approval on my humiliation. Evidence, folded and tucked into my coat pocket. Not rage, not tears, just ice, sharp and unmelting. Back in the living room, I found my gift missing. The brown paper I had wrapped, the gold ribbon ironed. Mama gasped, opening it later. A vintage cookbook, 1972. "Oh, my Lord, Marjorie, this is beautiful," she cried. Marjorie smiled wide, teeth gleaming. "Found it at a fair, thought of you." Daddy nodded, approving. "That's a thoughtful gift." No one glanced toward me, not even suspicion. My hours searching flea markets dissolved into her perfect lie. I felt the wool of my sleeve, the chill still inside. Max wagged at my feet, sentinel to my silence. "At least you saw me," I whispered to the dog. I reached for the door, coat in hand, heart steady. No slammed doors, no drama, just footsteps into cold air. They wouldn't even notice until the pie was gone. But by then, I had already left, giftless, erased, unseen. I drove home without music, the engine ticking steady. Streetlights slipped across the windshield like faint piano strings. At my apartment, a candle kept its quiet vigil. I pulled out the folder I never wanted to need. Receipts, statements, tax bills, and the cosign packet. Ink remembers what mouths try so hard to forget. 2 months earlier, I had sat in a bank office. Fluorescents hummed. The officer double-checked every signature line. "Are you sure?" he asked, careful with his tone. "Yes," I said. "I'm withdrawing as guarantor. Effective immediately." The stamp echoed like a door shutting behind me. I left with copies sealed like winter inside envelopes. After Christmas, I scanned everything into a drive called Just in Case. Then I printed a 1-page letter, plain and sharp. The foundation held because of me. Without me, it fails. I signed once, mailed it certified, green receipt attached. Silence becomes louder when stapled to proof. Calls came that afternoon. Mama, then Daddy, then Marjorie. I let the phone rest, screen down, and finished my soup. The heater hummed. Time lingered. Peace felt possible. Next day, a cousin sent me a photo. On their mantel, a new family picture hung proudly. My spot replaced by Max wearing the scarf I left. You can't erase a person and keep the frame whole. That evening, someone buzzed from the building's front door. "Maria, it's me," Daddy said, his voice thin with cold. I brewed 2 mugs of tea, opened the folder on purpose. When he knocked, I was steadier than expected. He stepped inside, hat in hand, air smelling like frost. "This is nice," he muttered, eyes on the framed photo. Then he sat, knees wide, hands rubbing nervously. "The letter, it wasn't necessary, baby girl." "Necessary," I answered, "is a life where people don't erase me." I slid invoices across the table. Heat, taxes, plumber. Finally, the mortgage packet, my signature dark on every page. His eyes caught, then dropped. He whispered, "We thought you didn't mind." "I minded being invisible while holding up your roof." I placed one more sheet down, Mama's email receipt. Bowl engraving confirmed, billing line with her name. He exhaled through his nose, close to an apology. "I shouldn't have laughed," he said at last. "Dad, you're here because the bank wrote first." My silence got expensive and suddenly you noticed it. He nodded, shoulders sinking like snow on a sagging roof. "What do you want?" he asked. "Tell me plain." "I want the erasing to stop," I said steadily. "My name on cards, a chair that doesn't wobble. No more jokes at my expense, no gifts stolen. And if you need money, call it money, not love." He looked at his palms, words caught between regret and pride. A knock startled us, Mrs. Green from down the hall. "Everything all right?" she asked, cardigan drawn close. "She's been helpful," she told him kindly. "She carries my groceries, checks on me when elevators fail. She's the kind you put in a picture first." Daddy touched his hat, throat working. "Thank you," he whispered. When the door closed, he sat again with less theater. "I can't fix everything tonight," he said, voice plain. "But I can start with what I say out loud." "Start with what you write," I answered. "Names are maps for belonging." He nodded slowly, years showing in the bend of his shoulders. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you call the bank yourselves," I replied. "You tell them the guarantor withdrew months ago. You learn a budget that knows the difference between decor and heat. And when you host dinner, you bring a chair for me." He gave a short laugh, surprised by the shape of my demand. "I can bring a chair," he said, promise humble but real. Before leaving, he looked around my apartment. "Proud," he murmured, this time without performance. "Not because you held us up, because you set yourself down." I hugged him, tentative, like weather passing through the room. Then I watched him leave with the copies under his arm. I washed the mugs, the radiator ticking soft applause. My hands didn't shake as I put the folder away. I lit a pine-scented candle, clean and honest. The text from Mama arrived soon after. "We need to talk as a family." I typed slowly. "When the erasing ends, we can talk." Before bed, another message came, longer, dressed like concern. "We want harmony, Maria. You misunderstand our sense of humor." I reread it, counting the ways humor had meant humiliation. "Start with the bowl," I wrote, "and the stolen gift. Start with the cards, the seating, the credits, the montages. Name what you designed, then we can discuss harmony honestly." The typing dots blinked, then vanished into a waiting silence. I remembered the slideshow, my years edited like commercial breaks. I remembered balancing soda on a stool with one leg. I remembered standing in the foyer reading glittered envelopes. A person can disappear inside a house still calling itself home. Tonight, that house had to learn my name carries weight. Daddy texted again from the parking lot downstairs. "Bank at 9, I'll bring your mother to listen." "Good," I answered. "Bring a notebook, write the numbers down." He sent a thumbs up, small, a language he hardly used. It felt like a bridge made from plain lumber, sturdy. Not pretty, not decorated, but finally capable of bearing weight. I closed the window, tucked the folder back on the shelf. I sat one extra chair in the corner deliberately. 4 legs, level, no wobble, a promise made visible. I pictured a table where names were not decorations, where jokes didn't ask one person to disappear for laughter, where credit traveled back to the hands that earned it. Sleep came steady, the kind that forgives without forgetting. Morning light sketched a thin gold frame across the floorboards. I brewed coffee, tasted cinnamon, and checked my breath. Strong even, not bracing for impact anymore. Power does not always shout. Sometimes it simply stays. And staying with myself was the first rule I kept. 2 mornings later, Daddy called from the bank's parking lot. His voice was square, careful, measuring twice before cutting. "We set a meeting," he said. "Numbers first this time." I heard Mama breathing beside him, not speaking yet. "Good," I answered. "Ask the plan, write every step down." That evening, a voicemail waited, thinner than old paper. Mama's words came slowly. "We saw the manager. We'll manage." A pause lingered. I ordered new cards, all the names. I sat still, letting the promise breathe before believing. "Labels on photos too," she added, softer than her usual. "Dates, places, names spelled right, no skipping anyone anymore." Mrs. Green knocked the next night with stew and advice. "Boundaries," she said, "are doors you open from inside." Her words stayed taped above my desk, a kitchen compass. Love can learn, she added, handing bread wrapped in towels. It stumbles first, then watches its feet more carefully. Days turn like pages. Daddy called to read their budget. He chuckled. Decor moved to the bottom line now. Heat first, I answered, and we both laughed quietly. He asked about my gallery night, then wrote the date down. 2 seats reserved, he said, if you'll have us there. 2 seats, I said, with our names printed in full. Saturday, Marjorie sent a picture of place cards drying. My name centered, spelled right, no wobble, no joke. Dinner soon, she wrote. I'll cook, you bring bread? Invite me when the erasing ends, I replied simply. Typing dots blinked, then a small reply. I hear you. Minutes later, another text. I'm sorry about the slideshow. A week later, Daddy brought coffee and 2 folding chairs. He placed one gently by my table. 4 legs, he grinned. We talked numbers, then silence, then a careful question. Will you come for supper? He asked, not demanding. Maybe, I said, when the chair is set before arrival. And when kindness doesn't need an audience to count. He nodded, quiet pride hiding under his winter coat. Later, Mama sent a plain envelope, handwriting unsteady. I'm sorry, she wrote. Distance isn't brokenness, I'm learning. I called Daniel before Christmas. That was wrong. Forgive me. I thought fixing meant searching you for problems to name. I am learning the difference between hosting and honoring. I pressed the paper flat. Seedlings need water, not speeches. When supper came, my chair waited, sturdy, not borrowed. No cushion for Max, no plastic cup, no wobble. They had set the table simple. Soup, roast, warm bread. I poured my own water and didn't apologize for space. At dessert, Mama placed the vintage cookbook in my hands. This was yours, she admitted, credit returning like heat. It should have had your card, Daddy added, eyes steady. I opened the cover, saw my handwriting on the note. For Mama with love, brown ink, a small steady flourish. The room held still long enough for truth to arrive. We spoke about next times before hugging the old habits. Names on invitations, I said. No more group assumptions. A seat before the soup, Daddy repeated, nodding twice. Jokes that don't erase, Marjorie added, folding the napkins. And credit goes back to the hands that earned it. Max wagged, then settled, learning a new order too. I left early, bread tin empty, air sharp with hope. At home, lavender candle flickered, calm as my breath. I pinned one note above the stove where steam rises. Bring a chair. Call things by their names, pass the bread. Under it, I wrote in pencil, practice until it sticks. Monday, the Art Center confirmed my spring session enrollment. Full roster, the director wrote. Add 1 advanced class? I smiled at the email and said yes to quiet. Some victories are loud. Mine arrived wearing house shoes. I placed the vintage cookbook on a shelf within reach. Recipes turned like pages of a family finally learning. If they stumble again, and people do, I will pause earlier. The door swings both ways, but I hold the inside handle. Max will still get biscuits. I will get a real seat. Love does not require vanishing or a stainless bowl's shine. It asks for names spoken, chairs leveled, warmth shared. Tonight, my apartment smells like pine and clean patience. The canvas dries, the table waits, the kettle hums. I set 1 plate, 1 bowl, ceramic, heavy, mine. I eat slowly, tasting peace that doesn't ask for proof. Hope sits across from me, steady as 4 honest legs. Have you ever felt erased inside your own family? Like every joke, every silence pushed you further away? Share your story in the comments. I want to hear you. And if this touched you, please like and subscribe today. Together, we can build a table where every chair belongs.